Yeah.
I've seen him,
I
and
hate him.
he has got such a huge voice, that young fella, the
and he
front
borrowed it from somebody I know very well.
There is no turning back.
They are Led Zeppelin 1.
Yep.
It's like, the kid looks like he's just dropped out of a kind of beautiful little singer.
Robert Plant, the iconic voice of Led Zeppelin, isn't just a rock legend. He's a man known for his unfiltered opinions. While many rock titans tread carefully, Plant has never shied away from voicing his absolute disdain for certain bands, often leaving fans completely stunned. You might expect rock icons to share a mutual respect, but not Plant. He's publicly ripped into some of music's biggest names, labeling their work as dull, overrated, or even downright embarrassing. From bands trying to replicate Zeppelin's signature sound, to frontmen he finds painfully pretentious, no one is truly safe from Robert Plant's biting critiques. First, The Who. This legendary band has captivated audiences for decades, continuing to tour even after facing the profound loss of key members. However, for Robert Plant, their perseverance after tragedy didn't signal resilience. It sparked disappointment. He was particularly critical of their decision to carry on following the devastating death of original drummer Keith Moon in 1978. Moon, a titan of unpredictable, chaotic drumming, was the unhinged energy that defined The Who. When he passed, the band chose to replace him with Kenny Jones, a competent musician whose structured style starkly contrasted with Moon's explosive brilliance. Plant viewed this as a significant decline in the band's spirit and authenticity. He openly slammed The Who's later performances as lackluster and uninspired, telling Rolling Stone, "I saw The Who trundle around the stadiums of America and I found it so dull, obvious, and sad. The fact that they carried on without Keith Moon was always a mystery to me." For Plant, the absence of Moon's unique spark meant the excitement was gone, and The Who simply wasn't that special anymore. This perspective underpinned Plant's defining choice regarding Led Zeppelin. After the tragic passing of John Bonham in 1980, Plant and the rest of Zeppelin made the difficult yet decisive choice to disband rather than attempt to replace their powerhouse drummer. For Plant, Bonham was integral to Zeppelin's sound, and continuing without him would have betrayed their legacy. While Zeppelin members have reunited for special performances, the band never truly reformed. Unlike even The Who's own members, Pete Townshend and Roger Daltrey, have at times echoed Plant's sentiments, admitting that carrying on after Moon's death was difficult. The band's resilience was further tested with the loss of bassist John Entwistle in 2, yet they continued to perform. Plant's critique highlights a broader fundamental debate in rock music. Should legendary bands press on when core members are gone, or should they preserve their legacy by knowing when to call it quits? For Robert Plant, the answer was crystal clear. Led Zeppelin ended with Bonham, and for them, that was the only choice. Number 2. Led Zeppelin. Surprisingly, Robert Plant's relationship with his own monumental band, Led Zeppelin, is often deeply conflicted. While millions hailed Zeppelin as one of history's greatest rock acts, Plant himself has been surprisingly critical of its legacy, often distancing himself from their music. Unlike many rock legends who bask in past glory, Plant scrutinizes his former work in a brutally honest admission. He once stated, "I can't blame anybody for hating Led Zeppelin. If you absolutely hated Stairway to Heaven, nobody can blame you for that, because it was so pompous." This rare self-criticism often stems from his feelings about his flamboyant, high-pitched vocals and the larger-than-life frontman image he embodied. Plant frequently remarks that some Zeppelin songs make him cringe, finding his own vocals overdone. His particular disdain for Stairway to Heaven, arguably the band's most celebrated track, sees him viewing it as an overindulgent epic that hasn't aged well. leading him to often refuse performing it solo. However, Plant's complex feelings about Led Zeppelin run far deeper than artistic criticism. They are intrinsically linked to some of the most painful moments of his life. He publicly stated that, in his mind, Led Zeppelin truly died in 1977, years before their official disbandment. That year, Plant endured the unimaginable, the sudden death of his 5-year-old son, Carrick. The tragedy shattered him, making the band's peak success feel meaningless. This profound personal loss, combined with the band's later years of excess and John Bonham's spiraling addiction, made the pressures of Zeppelin unbearable. When Bonham tragically passed in 1980, it was the final blow. Plant was instrumental in the decision to end Led Zeppelin then and there, refusing to consider a replacement. For him, Zeppelin was a closed chapter. He has since dedicated his career to forging a new musical identity, embracing folk, blues, and world music, deliberately avoiding the shadow of his past. Plant chooses change and reinvention, making peace with no longer being the golden-haired rock god of the 70s. For Robert Plant, Zeppelin was both a blessing and a curse, giving him everything but also taking so much. While the world cherishes its lasting legacy, Plant himself has chosen to let it rest. Third, Greta Van Fleet. Robert Plant never minces words, especially when it comes to Greta Van Fleet, a band often dubbed the modern reincarnation of Led Zeppelin. His comments on them are a unique blend of cutting criticism and backhanded compliments. While many classic rock aficionados celebrate Greta Van Fleet as a welcome revival of Zeppelin's iconic sound, Plant sees them through a different lens. He acknowledges their talent but remains unimpressed by their originality, particularly the vocal delivery of frontman Josh Kiska. In a now-famous interview, Plant made his feelings unmistakably clear. "There's a band in Detroit called Greta Van Fleet. They are Led Zeppelin. Beautiful little singer. I hate him," while delivered with a likely sarcastic edge. The remark highlights Plant's discomfort with a sound too familiar. He added, "He borrowed his voice from somebody I know very well, but what are you gonna do? At least he's got a bit of style, because he said he based his whole style on Aerosmith." Plant's primary critique targets Kiska's vocals, which bear an uncanny resemblance to his own during Zeppelin's prime. Kiska's high-pitched wails and dramatic phrasing often make listeners mistake Greta Van Fleet for a tribute act. For Plant, what might be seen as a flattering homage registers as mere imitation, lacking the raw, unpredictable energy that defined Zeppelin. Formed in 2012, Greta Van Fleet rapidly gained traction for their bluesy rock aesthetic and undeniable Zeppelin comparisons. Their breakthrough hit, Highway Tune, sounded like a long-lost Zeppelin track, sparking a debate. Are they a breath of fresh air or merely a band clinging too heavily to the past? Plant, having actively spent his post-Zeppelin career shunning nostalgia and forging a distinct identity through folk, blues, and world music, likely views Greta Van Fleet as being stuck in a time warp, recycling a sound he himself has long transcended. Despite Plant's mixed feelings, Greta Van Fleet continues to evolve, striving to establish their own identity while still acknowledging Zeppelin as a profound influence. Kiska, unfazed by Plant's remarks, views them as an acknowledgement rather than an outright dismissal, a testament to their enduring, albeit controversial, sound. Fourth, The Doors. While Jim Morrison remains one of rock's most enigmatic and charismatic frontmen, Robert Plant has openly expressed skepticism about Morrison's stage presence and The Doors' overall artistic approach. He accused them of being overly self-indulgent and pretentious, particularly regarding Morrison's theatrical performances and poetic lyricism. Unlike Led Zeppelin, deeply rooted in blues, hard rock, and mysticism, The Doors carved their niche with a psychedelic sound, dark poetic lyrics, and Morrison's brooding, rebellious image. Plant, however, viewed much of Morrison's famed stage persona as artificial and exaggerated, more an act than genuine expression. He felt Morrison's dramatic delivery and behavior were forced, making performances feel overly theatrical rather than raw and real. Morrison's tendency to recite abstract poetry and indulge in long, psychedelic jams that stretched songs to excessive lengths struck Plant as prime examples of the band's self-indulgence. In stark contrast, Led Zeppelin's intense experimental performances focused squarely on musical prowess, with Plant's own stage presence being instinctual and dynamic, devoid of existential overtones. For Plant, rock and roll was about raw energy, passion, and spontaneity, whereas Morrison's approach often felt contrived and overly dramatic. Their lyrical influences also diverged. Morrison drew from literary greats like William Blake and Nietzsche, creating symbolic, existential themes, while Plant leaned into mythology, folklore, and blues traditions, emphasizing vocal power. Beyond the persona, Plant harbored reservations about the Doors' music itself. He recognized their talent, but found their sound self-indulgent, often wandering too far into experimental territory without maintaining the raw, driving force he valued. While Zeppelin's catalog boasts intricate compositions, Plant preferred a natural, emotionally driven approach over something overly intellectualized. Despite his criticisms, the Doors' lasting impact on rock history is undeniable. Yet Plant's critique sparks an intriguing debate about the fine line between artistic expression and self-indulgence, highlighting the contrast between two distinct schools of rock performance: the Doors' theatricality, poetry, and existential depth, versus Led Zeppelin's primal energy, spontaneity, and musical chemistry rooted in blues and hard rock. Fifth, Guns N' Roses. One of Robert Plant's most notable criticisms of Guns N' Roses revolves around their infamous tardiness and self-indulgent rock star behavior. The band banned notoriety for habitually starting concerts hours late, leaving fans waiting endlessly. Axl Rose, in particular, cultivated a reputation for unpredictability and was prone to delaying shows or storming off mid-performance. This chaotic conduct, while adding to their rebellious image, starkly contrasted with Plant's deep value for professionalism and timely, impactful delivery. Plant once sarcastically quipped, "If you're going to be late, at least be good," underscoring his belief that spectacle should never compromise musicianship. Unlike Guns N' Roses, Led Zeppelin's legendary shows captivated audiences through raw energy and improvisational brilliance, not unnecessary delays or ego-driven drama. Beyond punctuality, Plant implied that Guns N' Roses leaned more on style than substance. While Appetite for Destruction is a definitive rock album, Plant seemed to perceive the band as a product of late 80s excess, prioritizing image and controversy over true artistic depth. Though he's acknowledged Slash's guitar work and Axl's unique voice, he's hinted that GNR lacked Zeppelin's level of innovation or authenticity. Plant, who has consistently shunned the rock god persona, has little patience for artists who embody their own mythology. Axl Rose's volatile personality and grandiose stage presence often personified the egotistical frontman stereotype, a stark contrast to Plant's modern approach of embracing a low-key artistic identity focused on folk, blues, and world music. Ironically, Axl Rose has always been a fervent admirer of Led Zeppelin, citing Plant as a major influence and incorporating Zeppelin covers into GNR's live performances. However, Plant has never appeared particularly flattered, perhaps because he views Zeppelin's music as something more profound and transformative. That said, Plant isn't one to hold grudges. His jabs at Guns N' Roses likely stem more from amusement and his characteristic dry, sarcastic humor than genuine disdain. He understands that each era of rock brings its own ethos, and while GNR might not have been his personal cup of tea, They undeniably remain one of the most pivotal bands of their time. What are your thoughts on Robert Plant's critiques of these 5 bands? Share your comments below. If you found this video insightful, please leave a like, share it, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.